Happy day, students. Today we are going to deal with 12th Standard English, Unit 2, Poem 2, Our Cashew Nut Tree, written by Toru Dutt. Already, this is part 2. Already we have seen the first 4 stanzas. The first 2 stanzas are imaginative and sensuous description of the cashew nut tree. It is full of imagery taken from nature. The third stanza is a melancholy, sad expression. It tells very sadly. Fourth stanza humanizes the tree. Now we shall go to the Now turn to page 53. We shall go to the fourth stanza. Unknown, yet well known to the eye of faith. Ah, I have heard that wail far away, in distant lands by many a sheltered bay. The memory of the tree has deeply touched the poet's heart. A man who has the eye of faith can see the unknown as well known. The tree's lament could be heard far, far away, even in distant lands and sheltered bays. Sheltered means protected. Bays. Next you see, when slumbered in his cave, the water ran and the waves gently kissed the classic shore of France or Italy beneath the moon, when earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon. Here the poet describes the earth as tranced in a dreamless swoon. What do you mean by tranced? That means dreamy condition, hypnotized condition. In films you have seen, they make some people to get hypnotized so that they will say what all happened in the past. So tranced in a dreamless swoon, bathed in the silver light of the moon and its sheltered bay with its gently undulating waves. The waves are continuously flowing. The tree's lament reaches the land of the dead. So goes beyond the territorial boundaries and is heard by her in distant lands and on the classic shores of France and Italy. So she had gone there to study. There also she could see, she could hear. Okay. So sleep like, tranced means sleep like. Swoon means fainted or faded ones. And every time the music rose, before mine inner vision rose a form sublime. Here you see, but even while in a land so beautiful, whenever the music rose, her mind's eye would see a form sublime. So you see, what do you mean by sublime? It seems to be glorious, it seems to be grand when she thinks about the cashew nut tree. Thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime, I saw thee in my own loud native clime. So here, tree, O tree, it's given in capital letters. That means she's giving more importance to tree. Like a person, she is talking. Even on foreign soil, her cashew nut tree would appear before her. Inner vision, just as she had seen it in her own loud native clime, and also connect her even more strongly both with her native land and with the memory of her dead siblings, because now siblings are dead but the cashew nut tree is alive. Therefore, next stanza you see, therefore I fain would consecrate a lay unto thy honor, tree beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for a repose. Here the poet immortalizes the tree. Immortalizes means what? No end for the tree. It will be living forever. She would like to dedicate a lay, that is a song. Lay means a song in the honor of the tree, because it is beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for a repose. Repose means already I said rest. So she would like to dedicate and consecrate this poem. Dearer than life to me, alas, were they. Mayest thou be numbered when my days are done. The tree is dearer than life to her. So, her life is not very important. We all know she died young. So, before her death only she had written this poem. It should be there immortalized even after her days. So, with that thought in her mind only, she might have written. With deathless trees like those in Borrowdale, under whose awful branches lingered pale. The poet places the trees beside Wordsworth's yew tree, pride of London Vale. You know, this yew tree is the pride of London. Vale means valley. Borrowdale, standing in Borrowdale in the Lake District. So Borrowdale is a valley. It's a civil parish in the English Lake District. Okay. So under whose branches lingered pale, where they continue to live in pale shades. So pale means, dull shades. Now coming to the next line. Fear, trembling hope, and death the skeleton, and time the shadow, and though weak the verse that would thy beauty feign, O fain rehearse, may love defend thee from oblivion's curse. These 4 lines are very, very important and very pathetic to see. A man of unflinching love and devotion never fears and blows of death. She does not express any desire to fade far away and dissolve. The casuarina tree does not make her long for easeful death. Okay, instead, even though its timelessness mocks, time shadow, no? So, timelessness mocks the transience of the human world, the tree is to her a support, a reminder of joy she once experienced with her brother and sister. So, here, what do you mean by rehearse? Rehearse means repeat, and oblivion means a state of forgetfulness. So, love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So, oblivion is it's very important that we need forgetfulness also. So, this love will be a weapon, a defense weapon for her. Okay, to prevent forgetting about the tree. So we have completed this poem. Now we shall see the figures of speech and the poetic devices from first stanza. Turn to page 52. The first stanza. See the first stanza. See, all the stanzas contain 11 lines. So, this 11 lines, what is the rhyme scheme? It is common for all the 5 stanzas. Note down. First I shall say. See, round A, scars B, stars B, bound A, gallantly C, hung D, bows among D, B, C. You see all the 3? Overflows, close, repose. It is E, E, E. So, all the 5 stanzas have the same rhyming scheme, that is A, B, B, A, C, D, D, C, E, E, E. Okay. Coming to the first line, very important line which I have not seen all these years. Like a python, like a huge python. So, this is, here they are using, like means, we already learned it is simile. Like comes or as comes means it is simile. But here python is given, so it is zoomorphism. What do you mean by zoomorphism? It describes the vine in animal terms. Okay. The vine is described in animal terms. So this is used to illustrate the movement, making the tree seem more actively alive and also implying movement. This is a subtle indication of the process of life. So first line we see, like a huge python means it is zoomorphism. Okay. Then you see the fourth line, A creeper climbs. So it is personification. And we have so many alliteration that all you know. Now coming to the fourth stanza. Here you see so many personifications only. Fourth stanza, second line you see. That veil far, far away. Fast personification. You see in the fifth line, the waves gently kiss the classic shore. Waves gently kiss the classic shore. Personification. Okay. You see the next, tranced in a dreamless swoon. That is also personification. And you see, thy form, O tree. Here tree is personified, so this also is personification. And it is given in capital letters. And in the fifth stanza also you have tree. That is also the second line you see, honor tree. So tree, capitals, it is personification. Now, turn to page 55. You see the question C. Fear, trembling, hope and death, the skeleton, and time the shadow, and though weak the verse, that would thy beauty fain, oh fain rehearse, may love defend tree from oblivion's curse. Question 1. What does the poet mean by the expression, may love defend thee from oblivion's curse? Tree should be remembered out of love and not just because it cannot be forgotten. Second question you see, what does the expression fain convey? Fain conveys eagerness and joy, which the poet once experienced with her siblings. Third question you see, finally, what does the poet convey through the expression fear, trembling, hope? The poet conveys that a man of unflinching love and devotion never fears the blows of death. She personifies fear, time, death and hope to intensify her feeling of loss. Okay students, here also you see capital letters, fear, trembling, hope and death. So this also comes under personification. So with this I would complete the poem. We shall see in the next class. Thank you.